John Wayne is a Hollywood legend who's known for his iconic big screen performances. He also had a very big life when he wasn't working.
Well, here's my word, get the hell off my spread. Now, for decades, a Newport Beach mansion held John Wayne's darkest secrets. When he died in 1979, his house was immediately sealed, every photo, letter, and personal item locked away for over 30 years. In 2011, they finally opened the doors, and what they discovered inside left everyone stunned. From record-breaking movie props to a shocking will that tore his family apart, this is the story of what really happened to the Duke's fortune. John Wayne was born Marion Robert Morrison on May 26, 1907, in Winterset, Iowa. When he was born, he weighed 13 pounds, which was so unusual that the local newspaper mentioned it. From the very start, he seemed destined to be larger than life. At just 3 years old, he almost died when he fell into an icy creek. A stranger passing by saved him, and that moment showed the kind of resilience he would carry with him his whole life. His name changed early on. When his parents had another son, they decided to name the baby Robert, so Marion's middle name was switched to Mitchell. This change might seem small, but it hinted at the bigger transformations that would come later. In 1914, the family moved to Glendale, California, because his father's business failed. In Glendale, Marion earned the nickname Duke because of his Airedale Terrier, also named Duke. The two were always together, and local firefighters started calling them Big Duke and Little Duke. Marion liked it, and the nickname stuck. Growing up, Marion loved football. In 1925, he got a football scholarship to the University of Southern California. He studied pre-law and was a Sigma Chi fraternity member. But his football dreams ended when he injured his shoulder in a body surfing accident. Losing the scholarship was devastating. He thought his plans were ruined. But this accident actually pushed him toward the path that made him famous. After his football career ended, Marion found a job at Fox Studios in 1927. He worked as a prop man, earning $35 a week. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave him a foot in the door. His first time on screen wasn't as an actor but as an uncredited football player in the 1926 movie Brown of Harvard. During this time, he became friends with director John Ford. Ford saw something in him and gave him advice, even suggesting he change his name to something stronger. After considering a few options, they chose John Wayne, a name that would become legendary. Wayne's early acting career was tough. Between 1930 and 1939, he appeared in over 80 low-budget westerns, sometimes filming a whole movie in just 2 days. He barely made enough money to live and often ate only one meal a day, a can of beans heated on a hot plate. By 1938, he was so discouraged by his lack of success that he thought about quitting acting entirely. Everything changed with Stagecoach in 1939. The movie was a big deal, but casting Wayne wasn't easy. The studio wanted a well-known actor like Gary Cooper, but John Ford insisted on Wayne, even threatening to quit the project if they didn't agree. In the movie, Wayne played the Ringo Kid, an outlaw with a strong sense of justice. His first scene became iconic, with the camera zooming in on his face as he held a rifle. It only lasted a few seconds, but it took 27 takes to get it right because Wayne was so nervous. Stagecoach was a hit, earning 7 Academy Award nominations and winning 2. Wayne's performance made him a star overnight. Even though the movie was a success, he was paid just $3,700, far less than big-name actors. Still, it changed his life. After that, Wayne was seen as the ultimate Western hero. He turned down roles in movies like The Maltese Falcon and High Noon because he didn't want to stray from his image. This decision helped him become a symbol of American toughness and masculinity. John Wayne and John Ford worked together for over 50 years and made 14 movies that changed Hollywood. Their partnership began in 1928 when Ford gave Wayne a tiny role as an extra in a movie called Mother Machree. But the real start of their success came in 1939 with Stagecoach. This movie turned Wayne into a star. The two had a complicated working relationship. Ford was tough on actors, and Wayne often got the worst of it. On the set of The Searchers in 1956, Ford made Wayne redo a simple scene, just picking up a gun, 17 times in front of everyone, embarrassing him. Wayne never complained, though. He believed Ford's harsh style helped him give his best performances. The Searchers wasn't even recognized by the Oscars when it came out, but today, it's considered one of the greatest films ever made. Their last movie together, Donovan's Reef in 1963, almost didn't happen. Wayne wasn't sure he should take the role because he felt too old for it. Ford was also in poor health and battling alcoholism. But Wayne convinced him to direct. They shot the movie in Hawaii, where the heat was unbearable, sometimes reaching 100 degrees Fahrenheit. During filming, Ford got so sick with shingles that he had to direct some scenes lying on a stretcher. Despite these struggles, the movie was finished and did fairly well. Unlike their serious westerns, this movie was more of a comedy, showing they could work in different styles even at the end of their careers. Wayne's first Oscar nomination came from Sands of Iwo Jima in 1949. He played Sergeant John Stryker, a tough Marine. At first, Wayne didn't want the role because he thought it was too similar to other characters he had already played. The president of Republic Pictures, Herbert Yates, had to personally convince Wayne, offering him $250,000 and a share of the profits, a huge sum at the time. The movie was difficult to make. Director Alan Dwan wanted the battle scenes to feel real, so they used actual flamethrowers and explosives. This caused injuries on set, including one explosion that knocked Wayne unconscious for half an hour. Filming stopped for 2 days. The movie also included real footage from the Battle of Iwo Jima, thanks to the U.S. Marine Corps. They let the filmmakers use rare combat footage, which was so well blended with the staged scenes that many people thought the entire film was real. One iconic scene showed the flag raising on Mount Suribachi using the original flag from the battle. 3 of the surviving Marines who raised that flag even appeared in the movie. Despite its success and Wayne's powerful performance, he lost the Oscar to Broderick Crawford in All the King's Men. Ironically, Wayne had turned down the lead role in that film because he thought it was un-American. The loss upset him, and it would be 11 more years before he was nominated again. Wayne's dream project, The Alamo in 1960, was one of the riskiest movies he ever made. He had wanted to make the film for over 15 years and ended up mortgaging his house, cars, and even his boat to finance it. The production cost $12 million, an enormous amount at the time. Wayne insisted on building a full-scale replica of the Alamo in Texas, which took 2 years and over 1.5 million adobe bricks to complete. Everything was historically accurate, down to the smallest details like nails from the 1830s. The set became a tourist attraction and stayed open until 2009. Filming the Alamo was a massive effort. They used over 7,000 extras, 1,500 horses, and filmed for 79 days in brutal heat that sometimes reached 110 degrees Fahrenheit. There were accidents, too. In one scene, an extra was hurt with a bayonet and needed 26 stitches. Despite the challenges, Wayne refused to cut corners. When the movie premiered, it was a grand event with a parade and fireworks. While it earned 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, critics were mixed, and the box office didn't cover the huge costs. Wayne wasn't even nominated for Best Director, which disappointed him deeply. Even so, the movie has had a lasting impact on how people remember the Alamo. In 1970, Wayne finally won an Oscar for True Grit. He played Rooster Cogburn, a one-eyed U.S. Marshal. Wayne almost didn't take the role because he felt too old and was still recovering from lung cancer surgery. But after reading the novel, he realized it could be the role of a lifetime. Door. Luckily, no one was hurt, but their marriage didn't survive long after that. They divorced in 1954. Wayne's third marriage to Pilar Palite started in 1954. They stayed married until his death in 1979. They had 3 children together, and things seemed more stable for a while. But by 1973, Wayne and Pilar separated. After that, Wayne moved in with his secretary, Pat Stacy. Even though they lived apart, Wayne and Pilar never officially divorced. Wayne's affair with Marlene Dietrich was no secret in Hollywood. It started during the filming of Seven Sinners in 1938 and lasted almost 10 years. Wayne was still married to Josephine at the time, but that didn't stop him from spending nights at Dietrich's house. The two were very passionate about each other. They wrote letters back and forth, sharing their feelings openly. Dietrich even used her influence to help Wayne's career. She made sure he got leading roles in movies like The Spoilers and Pittsburgh in 1942. Their affair ended in 1947, but they stayed close friends for the rest of their lives. Dietrich often called Wayne the love of her life. One of Wayne's most talked about friendships was with Maureen O'Hara. They starred in 5 movies together, starting with Rio Grande in 1950. Their most famous film was The Quiet Man in 1952. Fans loved their chemistry so much that many thought they were a real-life couple. O'Hara even joked about an old woman on the street who thought she was Wayne's wife. Wayne's kids called her Auntie Maureen, showing how close she was to the family. Years later, O'Hara's grandson admitted that Wayne and O'Hara did have a brief romance, but he said it wouldn't have worked because they were both too strong-willed. Even so, O'Hara stood by Wayne until the end. When he was dying of cancer, she helped him get a congressional medal to honor his legacy. In his final years, Wayne found comfort with Pat Stacey, his secretary. After he and Pilar separated, Pat became his partner and caregiver. She was 34 years younger than Wayne, but they shared a deep connection. Pat stayed by his side during his cancer treatments, managing his life and making sure he had support. They lived together from 1973 until Wayne's death in 1979. After he passed away, Pat wrote a book called Duke, a love story in 1983. The book shared details about their time together and showed a softer, more vulnerable side of Wayne that fans rarely saw. Pat never married and spent her life keeping Wayne's memory alive. She passed away in 1995. In 1964, when John Wayne was 57, doctors told him he had lung cancer. This was shocking but not surprising. Wayne had smoked a lot, up to 6 packs of cigarettes every day for years. The doctors decided to remove his left lung and 2 ribs to save his life. The surgery was risky, with only a 50% chance of survival, but Wayne made it through and lived cancer-free for 5 years. Most people might have kept their illness private, but not Wayne. He chose to tell the world. His advisors warned him this could hurt his career, but Wayne didn't care. He wanted to help others by encouraging them to get checked for cancer. He even came up with a nickname for cancer, calling it the Big C to make it less scary. In 1965, a year after his surgery, he appeared in a TV commercial for the American Cancer Society. He asked people to support cancer research and take the disease seriously. But cancer wasn't done with him. In 1979, Wayne found out he had stomach cancer. He tried an experimental vaccine, but it wasn't enough. Even as his health got worse, Wayne didn't stop speaking out. From his hospital bed, he recorded messages asking for more funding for cancer research. Just weeks before he died, he told people, "They might find a cure for cancer without your help, but I wouldn't bet my life on it." Wayne's last movie was The Shootist in 1976. It was about an aging gunfighter dying of cancer, and it felt very close to Wayne's real life. He was 68 years old when he filmed it, and his health was poor. He often needed oxygen between scenes, but he was determined to do his own stunts. In one scene, he had to fall onto a hard floor multiple times. He never complained. The movie was a success, and people saw it as a goodbye from Wayne. He even changed the ending to fit his strong image. In the original story, his character was shot in the back. Wayne refused, saying, "I've never shot a man in the back in any movie. Change it." The film made $13.4 million and gave Wayne a chance to say farewell in a role that mirrored his own courage. Wayne died on June 11, 1979, at the age of 72. He passed away at UCLA Medical Center after fighting stomach cancer for months. His death was a huge moment for Hollywood and his fans. President Jimmy Carter called him bigger than life and a true American hero. Thousands of fans gathered outside the hospital and his home to leave flowers, notes, and even cowboy hats. His star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame became a place for people to light candles and remember him. Wayne's funeral was private, but a public memorial was held later so fans could say goodbye. It was broadcast on TV, and millions of people watched. The U.S. Naval Academy made him an honorary member of their class of 1979, even though he never served in the military. After his death, Orange County Airport was renamed John Wayne Airport, showing how much he meant to people. In 1985, Wayne's family created the John Wayne Cancer Foundation to honor his memory and continue his fight against cancer. They wanted to make sure his name would always stand for courage and strength. The foundation helped start the John Wayne Cancer Institute, which became a leader in cancer research. It created new treatments, like a way to detect cancer early, which has saved many lives. At the time of his death, John Wayne's estate was worth $6.85 million in 1979, which would be about $25 million today. For someone as famous and successful as him, this seemed small. People expected his fortune to be much bigger because he was one of the highest-paid actors of his time. This might mean Wayne spent a lot during his life or was very generous with his money. Not all his assets were included in the estate either. For example, he sold his beloved yacht Wild Goose for $750,000 shortly before he died. This yacht, once a World War II minesweeper, was a big part of his life, and its sale adds mystery to how much he truly left behind. Wayne loved real estate, and his Newport Beach home was one of his most famous properties. He bought it in 1965 and lived there until his death in 1979. The house sat on the water, facing Balboa Island. It looked simple from the street but was grand and luxurious inside, just like Wayne's personality. After his death, the house sold for $5.5 million in 1980, a huge price for the time. Before moving to Newport Beach, Wayne owned a 5-acre ranch in Encino. At age 58, he left the ranch for the quieter life by the water. He also owned properties in Arizona and Washington, showing his love for different landscapes and his good sense for real estate. Once, Wayne joked that moving to Newport Beach years earlier had been smart because, by then, I sure as hell couldn't afford it. When Wayne's will was revealed after his death in 1979, it caused a lot of drama. The biggest shock was that he left nothing to his third wife, Pilar Palite. They had been married for over 20 years but had separated in 1973, 6 years before his death. Even though they didn't divorce, Wayne left most of his estate to his 7 children from his first 2 marriages. This decision led to speculation about their relationship and why Pilar wasn't included. Years later, the drama continued. In 2010, Wayne's daughter Issa sued her brother Ethan and John Wayne Enterprises, arguing over her share in the company. The will also gave Wayne's children personal items and memorabilia, but these became points of tension, too. Disagreements over these keepsakes made the family disputes even worse, showing how dividing his assets created lasting problems. In 2011, something amazing happened for John Wayne fans. Over 700 items from his life and career were put up for auction. This big event happened on October 6 to 7 at the Hyatt Century Plaza in Los Angeles. Fans and collectors got a chance to own pieces of his personal life and movie career. Who he was as a person, one special item was a gold-plated Winchester rifle he gave to a friend, Bob Shelton. It sold for $113,315 and showed Wayne's generous side. His books gave a peek into what he liked to read, topics like history and military strategy. One unexpected item was his collection of seashells, which showed a softer side of him that people didn't often see. One of the most valuable pieces was a portrait of Wayne by the artist John Decker. It sold for $71,700. Wayne had kept this painting in his home, which showed how much it meant to him. The auction also included family photos, letters, and even his home furniture. These things gave fans a closer look at his private life. They showed that beyond being a Hollywood star, John Wayne was also a father, a friend, and someone with deep connections to his family and the people he cared about. In 1971, John Wayne gave an interview to Playboy magazine that caused a lot of anger, and people are still talking about it today. He made some shocking statements that showed his controversial views. The most talked about comment was when he said, "I believe in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility." He was 63 years old and very famous at the time, but this wasn't a one-time thing. He had said things like this before. In the same interview, he also talked about Native Americans, saying he didn't think it was wrong to take their land, calling it a matter of survival. He even criticized the movie Midnight Cowboy, calling it perverted and using a homophobic slur. Years later, in February 2019, this interview came back into focus when someone shared parts of it on Twitter. A screenwriter called Wayne a terrible person, and the tweet went viral. Suddenly, people were debating his legacy all over again. Some wanted him canceled, while others argued about whether his words should define how we remember him. His comments, even after so many years, sparked big conversations about the responsibility of famous people and how their words can hurt. This controversy didn't just stay on social media, it also brought attention to things named after him, like John Wayne Airport in Orange County, California. The airport got its name in 1979 after Wayne passed away, but by 2020, people were calling for it to be renamed. This happened during the nationwide protests after George Floyd's murder. On June 26, 2020, the local Democratic Party officially asked for the airport's name to change, saying Wayne's statements didn't match Orange County's values of diversity and inclusion. Orange County used to be a very conservative area, but it's changed a lot. It has become more diverse and politically competitive, with Democrats winning all its congressional seats in 2018. Some people felt keeping Wayne's name on the airport sent the wrong message to minority communities. Others, like Wayne's son Ethan, defended him. Ethan said his father wasn't racist and accused people of unfairly attacking his legacy. As of 2025, the airport still has Wayne's name, but the debate continues, showing how hard it is to deal with the legacies of controversial figures. The controversy also affected the University of Southern California, USC, where Wayne had once studied. In July 2020, the university decided to remove an exhibit about him from its School of Cinematic Arts. This exhibit had been there since 2012, showing movie posters and personal items to honor him as one of their famous alumni. But students and alumni began protesting in late 2019, saying Wayne's racist comments made the exhibit unwelcoming, especially for students of color. After months of discussions, the university decided to take it down, saying they wanted to promote anti-racism and make the school more inclusive. Some people supported the decision, while others said it was wrong to erase history. All of this has sparked a bigger question: can you separate someone's art from their personal beliefs? Many fans argue that Wayne's movies, like The Searchers and Rio Bravo, are too important to ignore. They think you can still enjoy his work while condemning his views. But critics say his racist comments and the stereotypes in his films make it impossible to separate the two. They also point out that his movies often glorified a version of American history that ignored the violence against Native Americans.